Imagine sailing into Stockholm harbour in 1665 and witnessing something unprecedented, a northern European empire that has turned the Baltic Sea into a Swedish lake. Picture this. You're standing in the royal palace, where young King Charles XI commands territories stretching across 3 continents, while Nordic baroque architecture creates beauty from ice and stone, and Swedish armies dominate battlefields from Poland to Germany. Step into Stockholm when the Baltic Sea has become a Swedish ocean, controlled by the most powerful navy in Northern Europe, where the 3-crown banner flies over an empire reaching from the Arctic to Central Europe. They called it the Swedish Empire, and in 1660 Stockholm, that empire controlled more European territory than Spain or France could dream of. You're witnessing the moment when Stockholm transforms from Viking stronghold to imperial capital, when Swedish power reaches from Lapland to Livonia, from Norway to the Holy Roman Empire's borders. Every fortress, every warship, every royal palace proclaims that Sweden has become a superpower, capable of challenging the greatest powers in Europe. This is the moment when a Viking nation became a European empire, and nobody saw it coming. But this Baltic empire faces challenges that Mediterranean powers never imagined. How do you rule a superpower when winter lasts half the year and your enemies outnumber you 10 to 1? In this video, I use cutting-edge AI tools to resurrect 1660 Stockholm, bringing Nordic paintings, royal portraits, and imperial records to life from angles their original artists never could capture. We're not just observing this northern empire, we're experiencing it, discovering how Swedish genius turned geographic disadvantage into continental dominance. The impossible Nordic Empire. Picture the Swedish Empire at its 1665 peak from a bird's eye view. This isn't just impressive, it's geographically impossible. Sweden controls territories from the Arctic Ocean to the Baltic coast of Germany, from the Norwegian mountains to the Russian frontier. Every major Baltic port flies Swedish flags: Riga, Tallinn, Stettin, Stralsund. The Baltic Sea has become Sweden's private lake, patrolled by the most advanced naval fleet in Northern Europe. Swedish customs officers collect taxes from German merchants, while Swedish governors rule Finnish, Estonian, and Latvian populations. But here's what makes this empire truly extraordinary. It's ruled from a city that's frozen solid for 4 months every year. While Mediterranean empires enjoy year-round campaigning seasons, Swedish power must achieve in 8 months what others accomplish in 12. Charles XI, the young lion of the north. Meet King Charles XI in 1665. At just 19 years old, he inherits an empire that spans 3 time zones and rules populations speaking a dozen different languages. But this isn't a spoiled royal child. This is a Nordic warrior king trained from birth to command the most challenging empire in Europe. Picture Charles XI reviewing his forces on a crisp Stockholm morning. He's not just inspecting soldiers, he's coordinating the defense of territories that stretch from the Arctic tundra to Central European plains. Every military decision must account for winter logistics that would destroy southern European armies. Watch him move through the royal palace's council chambers. Maps covering entire walls show Swedish territories that dwarf France or Spain in pure geographic scope. But Charles XI understands something his southern rivals don't, that ruling this empire requires adapting imperial techniques to Nordic conditions. His daily routine reflects the empire's unique challenges. Morning councils coordinate governance across time zones. Afternoon audiences receive reports from governors managing populations in perpetual darkness or midnight sun. Evening strategy sessions plan military campaigns that must succeed before winter makes movement impossible. Stockholm, capital of ice and ambition. Step into Stockholm in its 1665 imperial glory. This isn't just a northern city, it's the nerve center of an empire that has solved problems no Mediterranean power ever faced. How do you build imperial grandeur from timber and stone when marble quarries lie thousands of miles away? Picture the royal palace rising from Stockholm's harbour like a Nordic Versailles. Swedish architects have created baroque magnificence using local materials, pine timber carved with intricate detail, local granite shaped into classical columns, copper roofs that gleam green against winter snow. The palace's interior reveals how Swedish wealth translates into imperial splendor. Silver from Swedish mines creates decorative schemes that rival anything in European courts, while Baltic amber provides luxury materials unavailable to southern competitors. But look closer at the palace's practical adaptations. Massive heating systems warm rooms during months-long winters, while summer chambers take advantage of Nordic midnight sun. This isn't just architecture, it's imperial engineering adapted to extreme climate. The Baltic Fleet, masters of northern seas. Imagine watching the Swedish Baltic Fleet maneuver in Stockholm's harbour during summer 1665. This isn't just impressive naval power, it's the key to understanding how Sweden controls an impossible empire. Swedish shipwrights have revolutionized naval architecture for Baltic conditions. Their warships combine Mediterranean firepower with Nordic ice resistance, creating vessels that can fight year-round battles in conditions that would destroy southern fleets. Picture the flagship Kronen, mounting 126 guns and carrying crews trained for warfare in sub-zero temperatures. These aren't ordinary sailors. They're specialists in Arctic naval combat, capable of fighting battles while ice forms on rigging and cannon. The fleet's logistics reveals Swedish imperial genius. Supply ships carry specialized equipment for winter warfare, while naval bases throughout the Baltic provide strategic depth impossible for enemies to counter. Sweden has turned geographic disadvantage into military superiority. Winter war, the Nordic advantage. Picture Swedish armies preparing for winter campaigns in 1665. While southern European forces retreat into winter quarters, Swedish troops use frozen ground as strategic advantage, moving artillery across frozen rivers and launching surprise attacks when enemies assume fighting is impossible. Swedish military engineering adapts classical tactics to Nordic conditions. Ski troops provide mobility no Mediterranean army can match, while winter fortifications use ice and snow as building materials. This isn't just military innovation, it's cultural adaptation on imperial scale. Watch Swedish supply systems operating during months-long darkness. Reindeer-drawn sleds carry provisions across frozen territories, while specialized winter gear keeps troops effective in temperatures that would incapacitate southern soldiers. The psychological advantage is enormous. Enemy forces face not just Swedish military skill, but Nordic winter itself. Many campaigns collapse not from Swedish attacks, but from German, Polish, or Russian inability to fight effectively in sub-zero conditions. The 30 Years' War legacy, Stockholm in 1665, still celebrates victories from the 30 Years' War that established Swedish imperial power. Picture victory monuments throughout the city, commemorating battles where Swedish genius overcame impossible odds. The war taught Sweden crucial lessons about projecting power from the northern periphery into Central European heartland. Swedish armies learned to strike fast and hard, achieving decisive victories before superior enemy numbers could mobilize effectively. Gustavus Adolphus's innovations in mobile artillery, disciplined infantry, and combined arms tactics created military advantages that Charles XI continues exploiting. Swedish armies don't just fight differently, they fight better, compensating for numerical inferiority through tactical superiority. But the war also revealed Swedish vulnerabilities. Extended campaigns strain resources in ways that threaten imperial stability, while ruling conquered populations requires administrative skills that warrior culture doesn't naturally provide. Nordic baroque, beauty from ice and stone. Throughout Stockholm, a distinctive architectural style emerges that blends baroque grandeur with Nordic materials and climate demands. This isn't imitation of southern models, it's original artistic achievement adapted to northern conditions. Picture the German church's soaring spire, piercing Stockholm's skyline. Swedish architects have created vertical drama using local timber and stone, while interior decorations use materials from across the Baltic Empire, Finnish birch, Estonian limestone, Livonian amber. The Royal Library represents Swedish cultural ambition. Collections include manuscripts in Latin, Swedish, German, Finnish and Estonian, reflecting the empire's linguistic diversity while demonstrating Stockholm's emergence as Northern European intellectual center. Notice how Swedish decorative arts adapt imperial themes to Nordic aesthetics. Coat of arms incorporate Arctic animals, while royal portraits show monarchs in ermine robes that celebrate rather than conceal northern climate. Trade empire, the Baltic commercial network. Stockholm's harbour reveals the economic foundations of Swedish imperial power. Picture merchant vessels arriving from every Baltic port, carrying timber from Finland, grain from Livonia, copper from Swedish mines, furs from Lapland. Swedish control of Baltic trade routes creates commercial advantages that finance military expansion. Every ship passing through Swedish-controlled waters pays customs duties that fund imperial administration, while Swedish merchants enjoy privileged access to Northern European markets. The Riksbank, established in Stockholm, represents pioneering financial innovation adapted to imperial needs. Credit systems finance military campaigns across vast distances, while currency standardization facilitates trade throughout Swedish territories. But Swedish commercial success creates new vulnerabilities. The empire depends on Baltic trade that enemies can disrupt, while commercial wealth attracts attacks from jealous neighbors who lack similar geographic advantages. Cultural synthesis, empire of many peoples. Daily life in imperial Stockholm reflects the empire's ethnic and linguistic diversity. Picture court ceremonies where Swedish nobles interact with Finnish administrators, Estonian merchants, German scholars, and Sami representatives from Lapland. Swedish imperial policy promotes cultural synthesis rather than assimilation. Finnish retains official status in eastern territories, while German continues as administrative language in Baltic provinces. This isn't weakness, it's imperial pragmatism that maximizes cooperation while minimizing resistance. The University of Uppsala attracts scholars from across Northern Europe, creating intellectual networks that span the Baltic world. Swedish patronage of learning demonstrates cultural ambitions that match territorial expansion. Religious tolerance reflects imperial necessity. Lutheran orthodoxy provides official ideology, but practical governance accommodates Catholic minorities in conquered territories and Orthodox populations on Russian frontiers. The Great Northern War approaches. By 1665, informed observers notice troubling signs on Stockholm's strategic horizon. Russia rebuilds military strength under new leadership, while Denmark and Poland coordinate opposition to Swedish dominance. The empire that seemed invincible faces coordinated resistance from multiple directions. Picture diplomatic conferences in Stockholm, where Swedish ministers evaluate threats that could overwhelm imperial defenses. The empire's geographic extent, once an advantage, becomes potential weakness if enemies attack simultaneously from different directions. Charles II recognizes these dangers and begins imperial reforms designed to maximize Swedish strength for coming conflicts. Military reorganization, administrative centralization, and economic reforms all reflect understanding that the empire must adapt or perish. But these preparations reveal the empire's fundamental challenge. How do you defend territories spanning half a continent when enemies can choose time and place of attack, while you must defend everything simultaneously? Daily life in imperial Stockholm. Picture typical daily life for Stockholm citizens. Even ordinary residents benefit from imperial wealth flowing into the capital from across Northern Europe. Market stalls offer goods from every corner of the Baltic world. Amber jewelry from Prussia, fur hats from Lapland, honey from Finland. Winter transforms the city into something unprecedented in European imperial experience. Frozen harbors create ice roads connecting islands, while long darkness creates social rhythms unknown in Mediterranean capitals. Stockholm residents develop cultural traditions adapted to extreme seasonal variation. The city's rapid growth reflects imperial success. New neighborhoods house administrators managing distant territories, while expanded harbor facilities accommodate increased Baltic trade. Stockholm is becoming not just Sweden's capital, but Northern Europe's political center. Social life adapts to imperial responsibilities. Court ceremonies must accommodate representatives from diverse territories, while social seasons adjust to Nordic light cycles that create unique patterns of urban activity. Architecture of empire. Throughout Stockholm, building projects reflect imperial ambitions translated into Northern European architectural language. The royal palace expansion creates ceremonial spaces worthy of continental empire, while new churches serve populations drawn from across the Baltic world. Picture the Riddarholm Church, where Swedish monarchs lie buried beneath monuments, celebrating imperial achievements. This isn't just royal necropolis, it's stone record of Swedish transformation from regional power to European empire. Private palaces throughout Stockholm reflect noble families' imperial wealth. Architecture combines Nordic materials with European decorative traditions, creating aesthetic synthesis that parallels political achievement. But imperial architecture faces unique challenges. Building seasons limited by climate, transportation difficulties across frozen territories, and material costs increased by distance all require architectural solutions unknown to Southern European builders. Scientific revolution, Nordic innovation. Swedish imperial success encourages scientific investigation adapted to Northern European conditions. Picture scientific instruments designed for Arctic observations, while Swedish scholars contribute astronomical knowledge based on extreme latitude advantages. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences promotes research into problems specific to Northern Empire, metallurgy for copper mining, navigation for icebound seas, botany for Arctic plants, geology for Swedish mineral wealth. Medical research addresses health challenges of ruling territories where vitamin deficiency, extreme cold and prolonged darkness create health problems unknown in Mediterranean empires. These scientific achievements demonstrate that Swedish imperial culture produces not just military and political innovations, but intellectual contributions to European development. The economic engine behind Stockholm's imperial grandeur operates sophisticated economic machinery adapted to Northern European conditions. Picture the seasonal cycles that concentrate economic activity into ice-free months, while winter planning prepares for following year's campaigns and construction. Swedish mining operations provide imperial wealth unavailable to competitors. Copper mines finance military expansion, while iron production supplies weapons manufacturing that makes Swedish armies self-sufficient in military equipment. Forest resources throughout Swedish territories create renewable wealth base, impossible for treeless Mediterranean competitors. Timber exports finance imports of luxury goods, while naval construction uses local materials for strategic advantage. But economic success creates dependency on Baltic trade routes that enemies can attack, while seasonal limitations concentrate both opportunities and vulnerabilities into narrow time periods. The imperial challenge. By 1670, Charles XI faces imperial challenges that test Swedish genius for adaptive governance. Picture the king reviewing reports from territories experiencing local rebellions, foreign intrigues, and economic difficulties that threaten imperial stability. The empire's rapid expansion has outrun administrative capabilities, while military commitments exceed long-term financial resources. Swedish imperial success has created problems that require solutions no previous Northern European power ever attempted. Religious tensions between Lutheran Sweden and Catholic populations in conquered territories create ongoing diplomatic difficulties, while linguistic diversity complicates administrative efficiency throughout the empire. These challenges don't represent failure, but evolution. Swedish imperial system must adapt to govern territories and populations that dwarf traditional Scandinavian experience. The Nordic experiment. Standing in Stockholm's royal palace in 1670, you witness something unprecedented in European history. a northern European empire that has successfully challenged Mediterranean assumptions about imperial power. Sweden has proved that geographic disadvantage can become strategic advantage, that cultural adaptation can overcome resource limitations, that military innovation can compensate for numerical inferiority. Picture the view from the palace windows across Stockholm's harbour toward territories that span 3 continents. This small northern kingdom has created an empire rivaling France or Austria through genius, adaptation, and relentless strategic thinking. But this achievement remains fragile. The Great Northern War approaching in the 1690s will test whether Swedish imperial innovations can survive coordinated attack from multiple enemies determined to destroy Northern European supremacy. The eternal legacy. Today, visitors to Stockholm can still trace the imperial city that Charles the Geathant created. The royal palace preserves rooms where continental strategy was planned, while harbour fortifications still guard approaches that once controlled Baltic commerce. But in 1665, this wasn't historical monument. It was living empire at its peak, the moment when Swedish innovation achieved its greatest success and faced its ultimate test. Imagine one final moment in Stockholm at midnight during White Nights of Summer, 1665. The city never sleeps because darkness never comes, while harbour activity continues around the clock as Baltic trade feeds imperial prosperity. You're witnessing the peak moment of Northern European empire building, when Swedish genius proved that Mediterranean powers held no monopoly on imperial achievement, when Nordic innovation created solutions to problems southern empires never faced. The empire that rises from Stockholm's harbour represents human adaptability at its finest, the transformation of geographic disadvantage into strategic superiority, cultural limitation into imperial strength, seasonal challenge into operational advantage. That's all for our journey through Stockholm's imperial peak. If there's another unlikely empire, another moment when geographic disadvantage became strategic advantage, another culture that surprised the world with unprecedented achievement, let me know in the comments. Until next time.